You know what I don't miss at all? That brutal week before my period when I'm exhausted and all I want is sweets. All of them. I'm talking chocolate, cookies, chips, basically anything with sugar or salt. It's like my body takes over and I can't stop. That's when I found Happy Mammoth. It's so much easier to manage PMS with their estro control. Happy Mammoth is the company that created Hormone Harmony, and they're dedicated to making women's lives easier. That means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and honestly, it shows. The biggest benefit to Hormone Harmony is really feeling like myself again. That's what women mention over and over in their reviews. And there are literally over 17,000 reviews for Hormone Harmony. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code DIARIES at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code DIARIES for 15% off today. A special thanks to Happy Mammoth for sponsoring today's episode.
At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/credit card. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Welcome back to another episode of Unscripted. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Paige. This is our segment where we have fun and talk about whatever we want to.
Literally whatever we want, whether it's in the news, whether it's something going on in our lives, we're going to talk about it and share it with you.
Can we talk about people getting married in their mid to late 30s? Nothing wrong with physically getting married when you're later, but can we talk about what that means for your friends, for a bridal party?
Sure. Yeah. I have had recent experience with this. My brother actually just got married. No, we are not talking about you in this circumstance because I know he's listening.
Yeah, it's a thing, especially more and more today. And in cities like New York, they get married a lot older.
And I think if we're being honest, you and I definitely got married on the younger side. We weren't, teenage brides or anything, but
no,
I was 26.
Right. And I was 27.
I feel like that's pretty young in these days.
Fun little fact, you guys, we got married exactly a week apart. Isn't that fun? Same year, exactly a week apart. I really love that. One of these years we'll go on an anniversary trip if that's not too weird. I think it could be fun.
Okay. So let's get back to getting married in your 30s and beyond.
Yeah.
You had some thoughts. We were chatting a little bit before we started recording. And I thought, this is something I bet a lot of other people have opinions on. So why don't we save it for that? So we didn't get too deep, but we had started it. And I was like, no, stop. We'll talk about it just on recording.
I do feel torn in a certain way when it comes to bridal parties. Part of me says, look, please don't make somebody who maybe has 1 to 4 kids stand up there in an uncomfortable dress when they don't have their 25-year-old body anymore. You know what I mean? Nobody wants to do that. However, you have a right to that. Like if this is your first wedding and you didn't get to experience it a little bit younger, yeah, I think you should be able to. But it's hard. I think what that could boil down to is maybe just being really cognizant of who you're asking to be on your bridal party. What's going on in their life? Like if it fits for them. Like my oldest sister, a lot of you guys have heard me talk about her. My parents were teenagers when they had her. And so she and I have a significant age gap. We're 17 years apart. I didn't make her stand up there in her 40s.
I'm sure she was like, thank you, Paige. I wasn't going to anyway.
Yeah. And then my other sister had a 2-year-old or almost 2-year-old. He wasn't even 2 yet when I got married. And she was kind of like, look, I'm living in another state, which is very rare for our family. And she no longer lives in that other state. But it was a lot for her. Like, listen, I want to be up there for you, but I'm telling you, I can't participate in anything. And I can't make it work very easily. We're a military family. I can't just get up and leave my kid with, my husband for a weekend. Like, I can't do anything. So maybe you want to give my spot. It was really sweet to somebody who can do all that fun stuff for you.
And she still stood up there with you. Obviously.
No.
Well, for our listeners, Paige and I didn't know each other when we got married. So I know this from hearing her story, but I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah. So I didn't even have her go up there, anything. I just kind of like let her off the hook. Both sisters were off the hook.
Oh, both. Okay. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm. They were off the hook in terms of being up there. And it was the same thing for my cousins that have a significant age gap with their oldest sister. They're the youngest and the oldest sister is like 20 years older than them. And it was the same thing. Like they just kind of let a couple of their older sisters off the hook. It was just easier. They participated in other ways that were special. I can't remember now because it's been so long for all of these weddings, but there are other ways to do that. So there are ways to honor people that that you would love to have up there, but that you can't. Like if my sister was closer in age than with me and my other sister, then heck yeah, she probably would have stood up there. That would have been easier for her to be more comfortable doing that. So there's that whole thing. I have another cousin who got married in her earlier 30s, and even though it was early 30s, she just had a maid of honor and best man. And I thought that looked really classy, but I don't want to sound like people in their 30s are so old. We're not.
No, but I think it's also a different time than when we got married 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Tim and I have talked that if we were to get married for the first time now, it would be so different. I mean, we had a 260 person wedding. It was a large wedding party. It was all the events. It was very over the top.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, it just felt like it was representative of our life and what was going on. We wanted all these people involved as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
We had the engagement party. We had bridal shower, bachelor and bachelorette parties. We had the day before. We actually did it on the Thursday rather than the Saturday because I didn't want to be doing stuff the day before. I want it to be relaxed. What is that called? It's the rehearsal dinner.
That was smart.
Like, yeah, it was so smart of me.
Especially if everybody's local where it's not like an issue on a Thursday evening.
Yeah. I had heard of other people doing that and I thought, I'm going to do that. I don't want to be getting ready 2 days in a row. I don't want to get home late the day before my wedding, wake up early, blah, blah, blah. But looking back, it was a lot to ask of people. And
it is.
If anyone complained, they didn't complain to me. They were all very sweet. I was one of the first in our friend group to get married, the first of my siblings to get married. So it was really a learning experience for all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very exciting. I mean, it was exciting for me. Getting married to the love of my life,
Absolutely. We had a large one too with all the events, and there's a lot that goes into it. And I think something that plays into our weddings as well, curious of your thoughts on this, is that we got married during an economy that was a recovered recession economy, pre-pandemic economy. I think that everything is seen so different in a post-pandemic light when it comes to getting married.
Oh, absolutely.
If I got married today, I'm going to Hawaii. We're going to Hawaii or Cancun or Cabo, and we're getting married. Maybe our parents are there and siblings. That's it.
Literally, that's what I was like working my way up to.
Oh, yeah.
Is Tim and I have said that we would just elope.
Mm-hmm.
We would get fantastic photos.
Yeah.
We would dress really nice, but it would be for us.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we would need maybe 2 witnesses. Maybe we'd have just both of our parents. Then I would feel bad to leave out my siblings. So I don't know, then it starts growing, but it would be really, really tiny and it would be intimate. And I feel like that's where my mind goes as somebody in my 30s. And I think my brother and new sister-in-law really did it beautifully. They just got married this month.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of what they did. They got married at the courthouse. We know my brother wore a tux. He looks super handsome.
Yeah.
She wore a beautiful dress. Her parents flew in and her brother, that was her family. Our family's a little bit bigger. We are all here and we all dressed up. My nephew was the ring bearer. He just walked, ran down. He did a great job.
Cute.
And then my niece was the honorary flower girl. She didn't have flowers to throw.
Oh my gosh.
And then we had a beautiful beachside dinner, sunset beach dinner. And honestly,
love it.
It was perfect. It was perfect. The photos are beautiful. And it was just enough to be like, we had a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Let's get our life started.
Yeah. And I do want to clarify that what we're talking about, or at least for me, and I hear from you, is this is if we got married today at this age.
Yeah.
We loved our weddings. We were the right age for what we did. And listen, our moms know how to throw a party.
Well, I was going to say, my dad's listening, and if he heard me say like, oh yeah, I hate it. Of course, like he'd be like, excuse me, that was very expensive. So no, I loved my wedding. Like you're saying, I wouldn't change a thing. But yeah, if I were to get married as a woman in her 30s, this is what I would probably do differently.
And let's say like 34, 35 and up, right? Like older than that. I think if I was like 33 or younger, I'd probably do the party because I would feel like if it's my first wedding that I would want to do that.
I think it just depends on the individual too. I feel like you are a little bit more of an extrovert than me, but we do like to have things a little bit more insular nowadays. You know what I mean? Like you're saying post-pandemic. So it could just be our personalities that we would want to do something similar. Because I know a lot of people that have gotten married within the last couple of years that did have the big wedding, and they had been looking forward to it for years.
Right. You're probably looking forward to it as soon as you know, like, I'm so going to marry this person. You start to dream about it a little bit.
Yeah.
I was not the little girl that dreamed about her wedding. That was not me.
No, I never thought I would get married. And I actually think the priest said that because we got married in the Catholic Church. And when you get married in the Catholic Church, you have to do this like 6 months of engaged classes with a priest, and you have to go away to engage encounter. It's a weekend away where you talk about all the different aspects of your relationship as you move into marriage, from dating to marriage.
My husband refused to do that. So I did not get married by a priest, although I wanted to.
Really?
But my mom found a good person.
It was honestly, we had been dating for 7 years. So we had gone over all those questions before, but it was a great refresher. And it was actually, like, I don't think I've ever said this to anyone when we did engage encounter, because, it's through the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
You go away and they separate the women and the men. You're not allowed to stay in the same hotel.
That is so Catholic. Love them.
It's so Catholic. So when Tim and I checked in, we got our rooms and they were obviously separate. We knew that going in. And when we checked into one of our rooms, I don't know if it was mine or his, one of our roommates didn't show up. And so we just ended up staying in the same hotel room, but we didn't do anything. We were very young and innocent. We weren't going to...
You were going to be respecting the process. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
You're at an engagement encounter. It's not time for...
Yeah. We were very respectful. We stayed.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything. We literally just went to the room, slept.
Yeah, of course.
And so it was really nice. I really think God was like, well, I know out of all the people here, you guys aren't going to do anything. So here's your room. You can be with your person that you feel comfortable with. That's really what I was trying to say. But
see, I love that because I would have been respectful at that process too. But I do believe there's like a lot of couples that might, slip up or take advantage of that situation.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's not take advantage. It's not even the right word because it's really not a huge deal, but it could be to some people and not to other people. But it's just a respect of that process. You're supposed to be connecting in like a spiritual and emotional way, not a physical way at this encounter. Okay. There's all the time for not during the encounter to do all that.
That was the perfect explanation of what was
thank you.
This weekend was meant to be. And honestly, we loved it. We had so much fun. We got to reinvestigate some of the questions we had talked about, in the 7 years prior. But it was interesting to see other couples, they were in fights.
Ooh.
People were getting in fights. They hadn't talked about a lot of the things. And we're just talking how you would split up your money when you got married. Would you be combining it? Would you be having separate finances?
Yeah.
Like if you were going to have children, what would that look like? And so it was really interesting to go through that process. And I was actually talking about it with a couple of people recently. And I was saying, I really believe that's why Tim and I had such a wonderful first year of marriage, because you hear people say, oh, the first year of marriage is so hard. I really did not have that experience.
It wasn't hard. Same.
I feel like maybe I was just really fortunate. It just felt like a sleepover with my best friend every single night. We loved it so much.
Yeah. Oh, I have videos when we moved in together. We moved in after we got engaged and several months before the wedding. And And I have videos, if I go back to those times, of Randall doing like goofy dances. I'm cracking up. This is also pre-OCD diagnosis and pre-pandemic issues that like exacerbated it. So I think I was a little bit more, I don't want to say happy-go-lucky, but I was a little bit more free. Yeah, I like that word. And I'm getting there again. But like you just see like two really happy people that are literally goofing around. And a girl who knew how to take a joke. That's one thing OCD's done that like really bugs me is sometimes I have a hard time taking his jokes and he'll just remind me like, hey, that was a joke. I'm like, you're right. Like I just took that so literally and let that go or whatever. But he doesn't do anything bad. Anyways, after you're married, let's say, okay, and you chose to have children, you're having a birthday party, you decide, I'm going to take all of these kids to Build-A-Bear. I'm going to put it on the invitation that all the kids are going to be building a bear.
Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. I thought this was I know where you're going with this. Okay.
Oh, well, it is very real, but it didn't happen to you or me.
No.
Or anybody we know.
This episode is sponsored in part by our friends at Hers. Let's face it, weight loss can feel overwhelming to say the least. That's why Hers is changing the game. By providing access to GLP-1 medications plus expert care, they make your goals more achievable. Hers is literally transforming women's healthcare by providing access to affordable weight loss treatment plans that are delivered straight to your door if prescribed. Hers offers a holistic weight loss program with personalized solutions that include compounded GLP-1 weekly injections that feature the same active ingredient as Ozempic and Wegovy, or even oral medication kits. It's so easy to do. Here's how it works. After you submit an online intake form, a licensed medical provider will determine what plan is best for you. If prescribed, your program includes medication, ongoing care, and online support, and it's all at one low cost. Weight loss plans are more affordable through Hers with compounded GLP-1 injections starting at $165 per month. That's with a 12-month plan paid up front for new subscribers. No hidden fees and absolutely no membership fees. So if you've been struggling with your weight loss journey, it's time you find the best option that works for you through Hers. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/diaries. That's forhers.com/diaries for your personalized weight loss treatment options. Forhers.com/diaries. Hers weight loss is not available everywhere. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Restrictions apply. Wegovy and Ozempic are not compounded. Actual price depends on product and plan purchased. This episode is sponsored in part by our friends over at Sonobello. Genetics can be truly amazing. Maybe you inherited your mom's beautiful eyes, her radiant skin, or a smile that lights up the room. But sometimes, not always, but sometimes, we inherit traits that we wish we could change. Like those areas of our body that just don't feel like us. It's not uncommon to catch yourself thinking, I got my mom's belly and love handles. But remember, genetics don't have to define your confidence. You deserve to feel great in your own skin, and that includes loving the way you look. Don't let genetics hold you back. Explore the permanent solutions at Sonobello and take the first step toward the body that you've always wanted. Our friends over at Sonobello are offering you their literal best deal. You're now included in their winter savings event. But appointments are limited, so if you want this, you need to get on this now. Sonobello doctors are masters in micro laser fat removal. It's this brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently. That's right, permanently. Wherever your problem areas are, whether it's your tummy, love handles, thighs, even your arms, it's gone in one comfortable visit. Yes, eating healthy and workouts are great. Keep doing that. But if you want to lose that stubborn fat in just one visit, check out Sonobello. You can save big during their winter savings event. Schedule your free consultation now at sonobello.com/diaries. That's Sonobello, BELLO.com/diaries. The best piece of money advice I ever got was simple. Practice saving instead of spending. I know it sounds basic, but trust me, it really hit home. Just a few bucks for my paycheck tucked away for a rainy day. And at first it seemed like a tiny step, but then I realized how much that little habit had the potential to grow over time. It clicked that saving and investing aren't just about building a cushion for emergencies. They're about setting yourself up for a stronger future. That's why I love Acorns. It makes saving and investing feel so effortless, kind of like how that small savings habit started. Over time, those small contributions add up and gives your money the chance to grow. It's one of the best ways to build on a simple habit and let time do the heavy lifting for you. Today's episode is sponsored by Acorns. Acorns is a financial wellness app that makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. I sincerely believe Acorns is a game changer because it makes investing easy and accessible for anyone, even if you're just starting with spare change. For me, it turned a small habit of saving into a bigger strategy for the future, giving my money a chance to grow without me having to think about it, just like that first step of putting a few bucks away. Sign up now and join the over 13 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $22 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/diaries or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid non-client endorsement compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorn Advisors LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/diaries.
This episode is brought to you by Peacock. The new Peacock original documentary, Matthew Perry, A Hollywood Tragedy, dives deep into the beloved actor's rise to fame and his tragic death. 5 people, including Perry's personal assistant, 2 medical doctors, and an alleged Hollywood drug dealer known as the Ketamine Queen, were charged with conspiracy to illegally provide Perry with the ketamine. Explore the details of the case in this heartbreaking special, streaming now only on Peacock.
This episode is brought to you by Coffee Mate. After watching this season of the HBO's original series, The White Lotus, this is the tropical getaway I needed. One more pina colada, please.
Hey, you're not on mute.
Oh, I thought I was in paradise. Turns out it was my Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate pina colada and Thai-iced coffee-flavored creamers. Inspired by the newest season of HBO's original series, The White Lotus. For the love of coffee. Try now.
Let's just say, switch it to your kids invited.
Yeah.
Okay. And it says on the invitation, you're going to make a Build-A-Bear. You go, you pay for it, and you go back to the house for food.
And this is like your child's friend from school. So it's...
Yeah, you're invited. You're invited.
Yeah.
And it's not like the entire class was invited. It was a select group of children. And they didn't even take the time to book a birthday party at Build-A-Bear, which, by the way, there you can do. They just went to the mall or wherever it was. Go there. Everybody makes the bear. You go back to the house for food or whatever. And everybody has to put their bear in one spot. And it's you're thinking, oh, that's kind of weird, And you pick your kid up. I think some of the parents met up there. I can't remember exactly, but basically you show up to pick your kid up and you see all the Build-A-Bears are in one spot, right? And you go to leave and they're like, oh, no, you can't take that bear with you. And you're like, oh no, I paid for a bunch of extra stuff. I thought that was the favor, I thought that was the party favor.
Okay. So for our listeners, this happened in real life. It's a big story on social media right now.
Maybe you could explain it better. I don't know.
The situation that Paige is describing is basically how it unfolded. A child invited a bunch of classmates to this birthday party at Build-A-Bear, and each of the parents paid for their children's Build-A-Bear. But at the end of the party, as the children were leaving the party, they were told to leave their Build-A-Bear for the birthday child.
Birthday child.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what it was. And this sort of created chaos because what do you mean you let my child pick out every little detail of this stuffed animal with the intention of bringing it home and loving it forever? And no, that's not the case. You want them to give it to your child as their birthday present.
And the adults were there, right? Because like I said, she paid.
They had to pay for it.
The aunt who, in place of her sister, took the sister's child, her niece, to this birthday party, to the Build-A-Bear, and bought extra stuff that the kid wanted for their bear. And it turns out that's the gift.
I don't know. It's weird, but if I had found myself in that situation, I would just be like, yeah, we're leaving the bear and guess where we're going, kid? We're going back to Build-A-Bear and you're going to make an even better one and you're going to be able to take that one home
And that's what she did.
Yeah, because I wouldn't start a whole thing.
No,
I would obviously consider that this person hosting the party is weird and cruel to children, because how do you do that to one kid, let alone a group of kids? And then I think also it's rude to do that to the birthday kid because now you're putting them in a weird position.
Yes.
Of being hated by their classmates. It's all weird.
On the invitation, there's one way it wouldn't be weird. Here we go, editor. There's one way it wouldn't be super weird. I do think it's cute that these are your close friends and you want them to make a bear that kind of has their personality to it. You can play with it when they come over, but it's got to say on the invitation, no gifts. In place of a gift, your child will be making a Build-A-Bear in their style and preferences for our kid to keep as the gift, which that is,
whoops, that's still weird though.
it is still a little weird, but it would make more sense. Like, no gift, please. Because I'm not buying you a gift and spending however much a Build-A-Bear costs, which by the way, I do not want to know how much that costs. What is it? Like $40, $50? I'm sure
it's gone up, but I don't know. I think that's still weird. The whole situation's weird.
It would communicate it at least though, instead of it being a surprise.
It would communicate it, but it would also lend itself to expecting people to pay a certain amount for a gift. And you don't know everyone's budgets.
Good point.
You know what I mean?
True. Right. Maybe you can afford a $20 gift because there's a lot of $20 toys out there.
Maybe you can afford a handmade gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, these kids nowadays get invited to so many birthday parties.
Oh, yeah. Because you can't leave anybody out.
I'm just thinking of like my older nieces and nephews.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a party every weekend, multiple parties. I think one of my sister-in-laws has gone to like 2 or 3 on a Saturday.
And you know what's interesting is like the parents go everywhere to these parties.
I would.
Yeah. And I think everybody invites this culture of like, when our kids are hanging out, we're hanging out too. Like, I'm thinking of one of my sisters, anytime their kid's doing something, like, yes, sometimes they'll just have a friend over without the parent. Like, there's still some things that we're familiar with, like how we grew up. But like, a lot of times it's, hey, do you all want to come to this fall hayride? This is actually a specific event. It wasn't just, hey, we're going to the hayride. Does your son want to come? Mm-hmm. Which my sister knows the family and everything. It's no, do you guys all want to come? It's like, it's all family.
That's kind of nice though.
It is. It's kind of nice. And I think it gives people peace of mind, because if you really look at what was going down in 70s, 80s, 90s, even earlier 2000s to kids when we were kind of allowed to be with these people alone that we thought we could trust, there was some not great stuff happening. I mean, we had awesome childhoods when, that kind of stuff doesn't happen. But I think that it could prevent a lot of that stuff. And it's just, there's nothing wrong with building community like that. So I think it's cool. And I don't blame anybody who wants to do everything that their kid does. But being at a birthday party, our parents were not at birthday parties with us, like this birthday party we're talking about.
I feel like my mom was, but a lot of my friends were her friends' children.
Yeah, maybe the dynamic is important.
My mom always says that when she had kids, a lot of her new friends that she made were from our classes, our classrooms. But I did go to a very, very small private school.
Community.
And so, I was in classes with the same people from literally preschool all the way till 8th grade.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them that were in my class also had older siblings or younger siblings. And so my mom had already known some of them. So yeah, I definitely think it depends on how your community is structured.
Speaking of childhood, we have to talk about Christy Carlson Romano from Even Stevens.
She's so nostalgic to me.
So nostalgic. I dare to say she's got a pretty good reputation still. She almost lost her eye.
Okay, I saw something about that. I don't know all the specifics. I know it had to do with she took her husband to clay pigeon shooting.
Yep, they went skeet shooting.
For his birthday. Okay, skeet shooting, that's what it's called. Mm-hmm. And from what I heard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, she was with her party. So like her husband and whoever else they were shooting. And then another group mistakenly pointed the gun in her direction and pulled the trigger. Is that correct?
This sounds correct to what I've been reading as well. Mostly my reading has been more on like her recovery, if you will. Mm-hmm. And what's wild is that there was less than 1 millimeter of where her eye got affected, less than 1 millimeter, and she could have gone blind, or she would have likely gone blind.
So when she was shot in the face.
Yes.
And one of the pellets, I guess.
And in her eye.
Made its way. Oh my God.
To her eye or scratched it. I don't exactly know the specific damage that happened to her eye, but whatever happened to her eye, wherever it was cut or wherever it was injured, less than 1 millimeter, and she would have gone blind. It reminds me of my brother when he dropped a glass bottle in college. He almost lost his whole toe, and it was like super close. He was so close to losing his whole toe if the glass had cut it. Yeah, he was in a boot and everything.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And we know how being in a boot goes. I was in one last year, the year before, for a significant amount of time. It is not fun.
The scooter looked a little fun. I might have to argue. No.
It was fun until, like, did I tell you? Okay, so for our listeners, I severed a tendon, like completely severed it in my foot. And basically, I lost the pedal motion. So if you're driving, that up and down motion your foot can do, I lost that completely because of what was severed. And it is the tendon that runs from your toes all the way to your kneecap. And I had to have surgery. And I wasn't allowed to even put weight on it. So even though I was in a boot to keep it in place, like the 90-degree angle, I could not put pressure on it. So I was scooting around for like 4 months. That was super fun until I had to go places and we had to find a big enough parking spot to get the scooter out of the trunk of the car.
You should have had a temporary like handicap placard or something.
I probably should have, but I never got one.
Well, it's always a hassle trying to get that kind of stuff anyways. You would have been like half done.
Yeah. And did I ever tell you that I flipped over off my scooter in the parking lot of Nectar? Nectar is like a little smoothie bar.
I remember, maybe not that specifically, but I do remember there was some drama. I mean, the scooter was, I was totally joking when I said the scooter looked fun because it was not.
No, I mean, it was fun. I would go fast. I would whip around the corner.
You had it figured out by the end, man. We would be Zooming.
Yeah.
Or having a video call and you would be zipping around the kitchen on your scooter. Like you did awesome.
I figured out how to vacuum, on my scooter.
This girl is resilient, you guys.
But yes, I had to. So like, by handicap parking, there's usually the bumps on the ramp I think it's for visually impaired people.
Sure.
So they can tell like, this is where it's going. You're going into the street.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the little wheels on the scooters are so narrow that when you hit them the wrong way, you just flip over completely. So I literally head over wheels went. And this old couple had to pick me up off the floor and pick up my scooter.
Oh,
it was like very funny.
Only because of hindsight. At the time, you're just feeling like, is this over yet? Because it was a long time. It was
I know.
Whole thing. You had to have your foot rewrapped because they were cutting the circulation off. Remember that?
Yeah, it was a process. I had to relearn how to walk.
Oh.
And I had told Tim, I was like, it's so hard. I'm just going to be on my crutches forever. I'm never going to learn how to walk. It was so hard.
Oh,
I could not remember how to walk. It took me like 8 months before I was even walking normally, but it was kind of wild.
Yeah.
So I can imagine the recovery process for your brother and his toe, and then Christy with her eye. My God, for that to get so close, I'm sure it's causing headaches and other things of serious nature like that.
And maybe some issues that are going to be forever, right? Because she's going to have scarring, et cetera, probably on that eye. So there might be things that affect her vision or, headaches, et cetera, that like last forever. Like that's kind of a forever injury where you have lasting effects.
And even the trauma of getting shot in the face.
The trauma. Yes. Let us not mistake. That is definitely trauma.
Just the bruising alone in the photos that were posted online.
Oh,
what an experience. I can't believe that happened to her. So all the best wishes for her in her recovery.
Yes. You know what else was kind of traumatic and quite the experience was learning about Belle Gibson, an Australian influencer from like the early 2010s through the show Apple Cider Vinegar, as well as the documentary, The Search for Instagram's Worst Con Artist. Everybody, you need to run and watch both of them.
This is the show that Paige has been watching and has been telling me to watch for the last couple weeks. I just haven't had time, but it is on my list. So why don't you give us a little bit of a rundown about the show? Because I am curious. I haven't been able to look into it too much.
It's got Scamanda vibes, which you turned me on to Scamanda, which is a podcast. I think it's going to become a show as well.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised. There's probably already a docu anyways. There's a docu for everything these days. So Apple Cider Vinegar covers the story of Belle Gibson. It is quote fiction based on the true story. Obviously, the documentary, The Search for Instagram's Worst Con Artist, tells you the actual story. When you compare the two, you can see the show took pretty much everything.
Liberties.
But you can see some liberties, but it told the story. Like, let's just say that. So Belle Gibson is Australian millennial who had a bit of a rough childhood, at least what she tried to express, but she's a storyteller. And she comes into pregnancy very early in life, has a son, and then comes across the wellness space. And she decides, I'm going to go ahead and pretend I have cancer, and I'm going to start this thing called the Whole Pantry. I'm going to start blogging, right? She's inspired by these blogs.
How was that anyone's first thought, right? Like, I can see
she was a master marketer.
Like, I love the idea of, all right, yes, I love the wellness space. Let's create something. But to go, I love the wellness space, but why don't we say I have cancer? That's insane.
I think she saw from a specific influencer that she knew in the space who had recovered from cancer. Actually, no, correction. She did end up passing from cancer, but did have some pull in the space because she was battling cancer and trying to do it inside out with not very conventional methods. And so Belle says, hey, what if I cure my cancer by doing something similar? And I'll do recipes and da-da-da-da-da. She kind of wipes.
Well, of course, it's easy to cure cancer when it was never there.
Oh
my God.
It's just unreal. I mean, icky from the start. And then she just ends up working with Apple, where the whole pantry was going to be on, or was on, the Apple Watch. I don't know the function because I didn't have an Apple Watch that early. And she gets found out by like one of her friends is finally like, dude, what's really going on? She goes over to her house and like has this conversation with her pretty late on, right? We've got a cookbook coming, all of these things. And yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, she doubled down too. Like she doubled down and said, well, I thought I had chemo and radiation, but like I really didn't. I was receiving what I thought was this. And then I think there was one time where she said something about a misdiagnosis. Like she was constantly getting herself in and out of these situations and always had like an answer for everything. If you watch her 60 Minutes interview, which you can find clips on TikTok, it's wild. But the show, she's in this like pink turtleneck, and the show at the end, it kind of ends with that interview and she's wearing a pink turtleneck. Like they totally were following like what happened.
So I'm getting Elizabeth Holmes Theranos vibes from this with the turtleneck and the doubling down, 10 toes down of this is what's happened. And even though I'm lying, I'm going to stand behind it.
And the Apple of it all. And the Apple.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow.
Yes. So Elizabeth Theranos, by the way, was very much inspired by Steve Jobs. That's why she dressed like him in black turtlenecks.
Well, Elizabeth Holmes, her company was Theranos. Yes.
Yeah. Brains are so weird. Yes. Elizabeth Holmes.
Well, it is also very early. We record very early in the morning.
So yes, it tied into Apple. Elizabeth was very inspired by Apple, as of course Belle would have been, but Belle got involved in the way that Apple was like, hey, you are a very influential person and we really like your app.
Let's give you a lot of money.
You are the most downloaded app. And this all happened because of her blog and her Instagram and whatever. Again, it's kind of hard to tell because they don't really get into huge specifics of that. They're painting the picture like this happened, right? So she's, mentally ill. They ended up finding out like a few years ago, she's going by a different name. No, she's not in jail. She's yet to pay the fine that she owes because she never paid anybody back for all of these fundraisers.
There was a lawsuit though, obviously.
Yeah, sure. She affected families. She affected, I think, yes, somebody in Australia, a government entity, if you will, in Australia is fining her. She's yet to pay it.
As they should.
And all of these families that she helped raise money for, they never saw it.
Well, how about all the people that looked up to her as, a goal of, hey, my loved one is sick with the same thing or something similar, and you survived. Maybe they will too. So she gave a lot of false hope to all these millions of people and ripped that away when she was exposed.
One of the friends that had cancer is horrified that is how she gained her wealth and her fame. She's horrified, and it's not something she'll ever want to forgive her for. I think that her brother actually, somebody, I do believe it was her brother, could be wrong, but one of the interviewees said, I won't be forgiving her. Like, this was really weird and awful. And yeah, so total Scamanda vibes though, where you're raising money in different capacities over the span of several years and nobody sees a penny of it but you.
Sad and cruel.
Wild. One of them was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And at least in the show, one of them was a kid. And he did pass. And the family, on the show, the family is like hoping to get him into this really great doctor and, needs to put the money down. And they're asking Belle, like, okay, like, can we, have the money? Like, we need to reserve him. And she just kind of like blocks the mom. And that's it. She's blocked.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Hey, Fidelity. What's it cost to invest with the Fidelity app?
Start with as little as $1 with no account fees or trade commissions on U.S. stocks and ETFs.
That's music to my ears.
I can only talk.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Zero account fees apply to retail brokerage accounts only. Sell order assessment fee not included. A limited number of ETFs are subject to a transaction-based service fee of $100. See full list at fidelity.com/commissions. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast here to tell you about Michelob Ultra Courtside. It's getting fans closer to the NBA with a chance to win prizes like courtside seats, a trip to All-Star Weekend, and much more. Check it out at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access, Courtside 24-25 sweepstakes, no purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 and up. Begins on October 1st, 2024, ends July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/courtside for free entry deadlines, and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
It's a wild ride. So definitely watch both so that you kind of get the experience of like the show that takes some liberties, but then you actually watch the documentary and so you know like actually what did happen. But it's very Scamanda vibes, wild. Like you said, do you really need to have cancer? Like think deep down into your why and people will like that. Like we have our why for the podcast.
And if they don't, that's okay.
Yeah. That's okay.
Not everyone is meant to be in your audience. Not everyone's meant to be a follower or a supporter.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
It's totally okay. But I think everybody needs to watch those. So you'll definitely need to watch them. And next, I think I'm going to be watching the Gabby Petito one. Everybody keeps asking me.
Yes. Everyone's been talking about it.
Yeah. And they're like, have you watched it? Have you watched it? So we did cover Gabby. And you did an amazing job on that research because it was dense at the time because it was like in the news. So there was just bits and blurbs everywhere. We had to really filter, which is exactly what you did.
We did. Thank you. And I believe her family was involved in this documentary, which is why a lot of our peers in the true crimes community are supporting this one, is because they are very involved. They worked with the documentary crew. They know exactly what's coming out. And so the family's in support. So it is a good one if you are interested in that case to take a watch.
Yep.
I haven't watched it either. That case was so sad to me. They're all sad, but it was one that I was following in real time and it just felt so, I felt so connected to it. And so it is hard to revisit it.
Yeah. It's like the Idaho 4 for me. It's one of those that's just going to kind of sit with you forever. They all do. And this is not in disrespect for any other cases. It's just that sometimes there's something about certain cases that just sit with you in a slightly different way for no reason of being better or worse or whatever. It's just one of those things that just hits you in a certain way. And yeah, those cases are like that.
I think it's pretty similar to how the people in the 90s felt when they were watching the Nicole Brown Simpson trial. they were living it in real time alongside the family. Obviously, nothing can compare to what the family experienced, but they were going through all the emotions of finding out what happened in real time. And I think it's really difficult to leave those emotions behind. Once you've felt them and you hear about the story again, they reemerge, they resurface. And that's sort of what I'm likening it to.
You hit the nail on the head. And I hadn't really thought about this before. I think it also has a lot to do with the coverage, the way it's expressed. Those two cases, Gabby and Idaho 4, those two cases, the coverage was expressed very much in real time. Every day, sometimes multiple times a day, there were multiple headlines. You knew what was going on. You knew they were hunting for this white car. You knew a lot more in real time as opposed to, I guess what I'm trying to say is, it depends maybe on the way that the coverage is expressed and sent out to the public. And that is very different in all cases. It definitely varies.
And I think that's probably why I don't feel like I know too much about the Idaho 4 is because by the time that was getting a lot of press coverage, it was too disturbing to me to follow it day by day by day. And so I chose specifically not to follow it because it was just so disturbing to me.
And it was getting icky. Like TikTok was going crazy with it. And it's one thing for information to be put out there, but it's another when it kind of starts to feel like a cash grab. You're talking about it because everybody else is.
I think the coverage online started becoming its own thing, sort of the way that the It Ends With Us coverage has become this monster in and of itself. I hate to bring It Ends With Us up again, but the way that I still see creators on social media talking about every single little thing online, it's insane to me.
Well, we're also just the worst at posting.
The type of coverage that is being done with It Ends With Us was being done with somebody's real life and murder. And that's what I didn't like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's different. And obviously people were hurt in whatever happened between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, but it doesn't compare to someone losing their life in some horrific way.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is involving two people with two very big egos and lies and deception. And that does affect us as a public. Like, don't lie to us. So we can be upset about that. We can talk about that, but it is constant, much like what was going on with Idaho 4. It was almost became, and this is a privileged stance I recognize, but it almost became overwhelming. And I mean privileged by the fact that it was not my family. It was not me. And that makes it easier to feel like all these people are covering it. But we also have a right to protect our sanity and our well-being to get through our day.
Well, it's not even like, oh, all these people are covering it. It's, oh, all these people have theories that are covering it that aren't even supported.
And that's not helpful at all.
No. Yeah.
So, yeah, it definitely has two sides like that. Absolutely. I mean, pay attention to what's going on. But when you do talk about theories in a public way, not just like with your best friend, like call your Natalie to talk about your theory if you want to, because you don't want to be a family member or a friend and turn on TikTok and every other video is that. And that's probably what happened. So of course you go, well, just stay off of it then. Well, it's like, okay, yeah, definitely. But also let's know as a public not to do that. And I'm not saying we're better. We've done it in our past as humans too, because humans are not perfect, but I think we know more so now.
And I think we're all a little bit curious too.
Yes.
We want to know what happened with all of these.
We care. It was awful.
One of the last stories I want to bring up before we end today is there is a lot of drama online between Bhad Bhabie and Alabama Barker, who is Travis Barker's daughter, Shayna Moakler's daughter, and Kourtney Kardashian's stepdaughter.
I need to know more about this because it has come across my For You page. However, I'm not aware of all of the ins and outs, but I do know a guy's involved. So walk me through this.
All right. So obviously, I don't know all the ins and outs, and I'm not going to be theorizing what is happening. All I know is basically what both of the girls have posted. So they're both pretty young. Bhad Bhabie is You might remember her. Her name is Danielle. She's from
Cash Me Outside.
Yes, she first came to prominence on Dr. Phil's show when she said, "Cash me outside." Basically, like, let's go.
Let's fight. To the audience, as like a 13-year-old, she's wild. She's wild.
So she's been about that life. She is a little bit,
can we say rough and tumble? Yeah, tenacious, rough and tumble. She's a strong, actually very smart girl.
Yes.
She took that Cash Me Outside 15 minutes of fame and she turned it into something. She has a following and music, and
she launched a rap career. She has donated millions of dollars to other young people to get them to go to college. So she does, she's had a really successful career beyond the Dr. Phil appearance that was so many years ago. I believe she's on OnlyFans now, and she sort of retired the rap career that she had. But around this time that she retired and she's on OnlyFans, she started a relationship with a man named Levon. They had a child together. And then she was undergoing cancer treatment because she was diagnosed with some form of cancer.
We don't know what.
I don't know what, and I don't want to speculate. But around this time, she befriended Alabama Barker, who is up and coming and trying to launch her own music career. But instead of following her dad's footsteps of pop punk, she's wanted to do more rapping. And for whatever reason, Danielle really looked at Alabama as a little sister. It turns out that Alabama started sneaking around with Levon, Danielle's baby daddy, or Bhad Bhabie's baby daddy. And she found out. So it wasn't just the betrayal of the child of her father, but it was the betrayal of a friend, a close confidant. And that betrayal initiated this online beef that they have. And so they've been writing raps against each other. And who knows, maybe this is really great publicity. I would say probably not, though, because of the things being said, the secrets being revealed to the public. But I would say that Bhad Bhabie's probably on top with the last song that she just released. It is basically, Bhad Bhabie was in retirement and she was Danielle for a long time. Bhad Bhabie is out of retirement. She is saying some things that Alabama probably wishes she had never seen the light of day. And she has a video releasing tonight. So we're recording this on February 24th in the morning, but this video is being released tonight. And Bhad Bhabie posted clips of it. She has clips of a Travis Barker lookalike, which is Alabama's dad. And she has clips of a Kim Kardashian lookalike, or she's dressed up as Kim Kardashian, which, for those who don't know, Travis Barker, Alabama's dad of Blink-182, in the early 2000s wrote a memoir. And in the memoir, he talked about Kim Kardashian and how he always had this flirtatious relationship. And
they're neighbors.
He sort of found himself falling in love with her, but nothing physical ever happened between them. Fast forward 20 years, and he marries Kim Kardashian's sister, Kourtney Kardashian. And it's, at least on social media for a while, it was speculated that, Kourtney basically went after somebody that her sister slept with, even though that's never been proven. And so one of the lyrics of the song, the new song that Bhad Bhabie wrote, is, "Your stepmom's burnt out, and why is she going for her sister secondhand?" or something like that. And so she's dragging all of the family into their beef, and things just are going to go from there. I'm going to be watching. I guess it's weird to watch this as someone in their mid-30s. I don't know either of them. They're much younger than me, but it is incredible.
Hey, they're adults putting it out there on social media. That's all we're going after.
Right. But it is wild that they would just expose each other like that.
I always wonder motivations of things like that. It can help music. So if this is all a ruse to, get streams and make money off those streams, could be, but it also could very well be, at their age, it could be an issue of fighting over a baby daddy and a guy that you kind of fell into interest with, which, by the way,
let's hold him accountable.
Thank you. You know exactly what I was going to say. She made videos talking about what he did during a fight and how he treated her like dirt, especially during cancer treatment. I mean, this is the father of your child. How are they going to treat your child in the future? I think that Bhad Bhabie is for the better, just letting him go. And yeah, he sucks.
Yeah, I really hope that whatever comes of this tension between two past friends can be resolved, because at the end of the day, she does have a child and we don't want it to affect him. You know what I mean? He's already had his parents break up. And so who knows what any legal issues, because let's remember, Alabama is the stepdaughter of a Kardashian. And we know that family to be litigious. And she has even suggested that Bhad Bhabie should expect some paperwork, lawsuits. So however it turns out, I hope that it's quick and painless for both parties involved.
Oh, there's definitely some litigation coming down. Again, they're adults and this is getting pretty messy.
Oh, so messy.
I feel like if that doesn't happen, maybe that's our clue that like this was a ruse to get streams on their diss tracks that they made for each other. We'll see. Because don't mistake it. We've talked about this briefly before, but these types of people, reality stars, they have to make situations happen to stay relevant. They have to, a lot of times, even to remain on a show like Real Housewives, for example, they have to do certain things on camera.
Yeah, they have a storyline.
Yes, to maintain a storyline. It could be based in reality, but they will save something for while on camera, which would be completely disrespectful to one of your best friends to do, but they do it because it's going to give them their paycheck, which is if you don't have a storyline and you're boring, you're going to get cut. Look what they did to Real Housewives of New York. They cut everybody and then got an all new cast, which by the way, interesting fact, I didn't know in this past season, I think 15 of Roni, Real Housewives of New York, Rebecca Minkoff was on it.
Mm-hmm. And they were really mean to her too. They were.
Oh, she said she's one and done.
Yeah. I don't blame her. They were not only attacking her, but her very successful brand of handbags and everything else that's included, which, look, if you don't get along with someone, that's one thing, but those bags are really nice. I have a couple. I love them. I can't believe anybody would talk down about someone's livelihood that way. It's a successful brand, especially when the people doing the talking have never built anything for themselves.
Can I tell you why I think they did it?
Well, I have a theory, but yeah, you can tell me why you think.
I didn't watch the season, but it goes back to you needing the pull.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're a millennial who would definitely be watching a millennial designer like Rebecca Minkoff, who in her 20s, she's feeding all these beautiful bags to people like Kristen Cavallari and other stars of the Hills and things that we're watching. I mean, having a Rebecca Minkoff was like a statement, but like a young, hip statement at the time. And she went on this show to use as a platform to boost her brand again, because let's be real.
Of course. Why else would she? She doesn't need to. She doesn't need the money.
And that's exactly what she said in an interview. Of course, I went on with a motive. Like, hello, I'm a brand owner. Yeah. And I almost lost she almost lost it. She almost lost a whole brand during the pandemic. So she's kind of rebuilding, if you ask me.
Okay. So I didn't know that she almost lost it.
Yeah. She had to sell.
Wow. Okay.
Partially, all of it. I can't remember, but yeah, she sold some.
She isn't the only person that obviously comes on to one of the Real Housewives shows with a motive. They all have a motive. They all have a reason to want their name in people's mouths.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Lisa Rinna recently did an interview, and I don't remember who it was because I don't follow that podcaster, but she was saying that she had been offered a role in Beverly Hills when it first was launched. And her husband, who is an actor in his own right, Harry Hamlin, said, if you join Real Housewives, you will be getting divorce papers, basically. He did not want her to do that.
I didn't know that.
He was so against it. And then she brought him a bunch of proof that basically said, look what this other housewife did with her brand, Skinny Vodka. Or what is it?
Bethany
Frankel.
Skinny girl,
Skinny Vodka. You know what I meant. And she basically said,
well, we call them skinny martinis and whatnot now. I mean, she coined that term is hers, even if you're not using her product.
Well, I don't think it's her product anymore. She is the founder.
Of course.
But she did eventually sell.
That's the goal. That's the goal these days. That is the goal. You build your brand and you sell it in terms of items like that. Yeah, absolutely.
And so she brought Harry all of this paperwork and said, look what Bethany Frankel was able to do with her brand.
Wow.
And I guess she had turned down the offer, and Harry came back to Lisa in a couple of days and said, okay, if you're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it for your brands. And so that was her goal of being on the show. And this is a successful actress. She's been on soap operas for 25 years. And so Yeah, they all have a motive for being there, and it doesn't always pan out the way that they expect, unfortunately.
Yeah, because you're going to be bringing the drama, and that's going to come at your expense at some point, because somebody's going to come for you, because that's really, unfortunately, what people view as interesting, I guess, is women tearing each other down, which is really disgusting. But hey, I'm part of the problem. I watch all that crap. I do. I guess I should, again, say I didn't watch Real Housewives of New York, but like Beverly Hills, Orange County, I do tune into those probably every season. Even if I don't finish the season, because sometimes they're boring.
Sometimes they are boring. But I do also recognize that there can be times when there's too much drama.
Yeah.
And that makes it unpalatable to me. For example, Lisa's last couple of seasons on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I'm talking specifically Lisa Rinna, it was gross. Like the way that they were at each other's throats was gross, and I couldn't watch. So I really do think there's a balance of holding people accountable and calling them out on camera versus literally tearing women down that should be your friends or that you have said are your friends.
Chris Cavallari put it perfectly. I can't remember if it was during an interview or she was saying about her own experience, maybe a blend of both. I'm sure she agreed if it wasn't her. There's this thing where it starts to blur your reality, where you go, okay, I know we're filming, but this is what happened when we didn't film, but this is what happened when we film. So what? It's kind of like that idea of you're talking to a friend and they're telling you, oh yeah, like this person is, XYZ, and I'm going to start distancing myself. And, this is what's going on. And by the way, they said this about you and da 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 da. And then next thing you know, you're at birthday party or event or whatever, and they're just buddy with this person. And you're going, well, wait a minute. Okay, we're filming and you're acting all buddy, but like, I'm confused because this is what happened off camera. So your reality starts to blur because you go, well, maybe they're just doing that on camera because of XYZ and they're benefiting in this way. And so it just, again, it starts to blur and you can't decipher fact from fiction.
We saw a lot of that dynamic towards the end of the Keeping Up with the Kardashians series run with Kourtney, who was having issues with Kim and Khloe.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, but for our listeners who maybe need their memory refreshed or didn't necessarily watch those shows, on camera, Kourtney would be breaking down. And this is someone that was always presented as pretty stoic and a little bit with a harder shell exterior. And for her to be breaking down and saying like, what's going on? You guys act one way off camera, and then now you're ganging up on me on camera. And they are producers on all of their shows.
Right.
And obviously that's the show's ended, but they were producers on that one. They're producers on the new one. And so I can definitely see that blending, that blurring of the line of what's real and what's not affecting your day-to-day life. And
can you imagine that with your family?
No, it shows how toxic reality TV can be.
Right. It might be a bit intense, but I do think this is a good spot to wrap up this episode of Unscripted. Do not forget to leave us comments on Spotify. We read them, we respond, and we love hearing what you guys think about what we're talking about. So if you watched Apple Cider Vinegar, tell us what you think about that. If you love what we've been talking about with reality TV just a few moments ago, let us know your thoughts. We want to hear from you. So until next Monday.
Yeah, we'll see you on Thursday for our regularly scheduled case coverage on the Murder Diaries.
We'll see you then. Bye.